Hi, I'm Chelsea Cohen. I'm the co-founder of SoStock. Now we're going to cover the #1 reason why forecasting goes wrong and how to solve it. Then we're going to jump into some rapid fire quick tips on how you can improve and streamline your inventory forecasting to improve your reordering and your transfer process. All right, let's get going. All right, so I'm going to first and foremost jump into a bit of a case study. And this case study will help to illustrate the point that we're making, and then we're going to go over exactly what happened and why the results were what they were. So first and foremost, was working with a 7-figure seller in the wholesale Amazon space. And this seller came to the SoStock software after years of using another software. And because he was using this other software, he found that there were a lot of inaccuracies with the forecasting, and he continued to stock out, especially on his best sellers. So what he did was he created his own spreadsheet to improve the accuracy specifically for his best sellers because they were 80% of the income that he was making. And yet, with these two systems in place, he was still continuing to stock out and still having problems with getting his ordering right. So when he came to SoStock, he was interested to see what was going to happen within the software that could potentially keep him from stocking out. However, when he plugged all his data into the software by connecting his API to SoStock, he was pretty alarmed by how high our recommendation was in terms of orders. But when we dug into the data, we found that it was actually correct, and that he all of a sudden realized why he had continued to stock out, not only with the software that he was previously using, but also with the spreadsheets. So what he was getting from the competing software, he was getting that his daily sales velocity was 8 units per day. And that was leading him to stock out, let's say, 4 days into the week. And it was because that was not his accurate daily sales volume. His custom spreadsheet was saying that his daily sales velocity was 10 units a day. That was causing him to stock out within the 5th day of the week. However, with SoStock, he was surprised to find that we were saying that the actual true velocity was 15 units a day. And that, in fact, helped him to avoid stockouts. So how is it that we have the same data and 3 different methods are actually being created on the same data? Well, let's go ahead and dive into exactly why that would be. So there are a couple of different things that you need to know in order to determine your true velocity with regards to stockouts. So this is specifically in regard to not under ordering, right? We'll get a little bit into the idea of how to avoid over ordering, but this is specifically for avoiding under ordering. So first of all, did you have stock? This is something that can be pulled in from Amazon's historical API. Now, if you do not have an API pull, if you're doing things manually, for example, from reports, it's a little bit more difficult to get this type of granular data. So one of the things you could do is track it on a stock out log, track the dates and the number of days that you stocked out during that period. Second is, was there an unusual interruption to your normal sales velocity? So maybe it wasn't a stock out, but it was an interruption. This could be things like lower sales days the day that you go out of stock, lower sales days the day you come back into stock, Amazon finding, say, a unit or 2 during a stock out, or also your sales interrupted by a listing suspension, for example. Those are all things that need to be factored into calculating your stock outs. And let me show you how this looks and why this is. So most of these systems fail because they're only checking for that first point. Did you have stock or not? They're not factoring in the low sales, the Amazon finding a single unit during a stock out, listing suspensions. They're not factoring these things in. So the calculation becomes wrong because the data is being analyzed incorrectly. On the left, we have the competing software. On the right, we have SoStock. So the sales velocity for this product is 100 units a day. With the competing software, they are looking at days when you had 0 sales as stock out, However, before the stock out, there was a day of 23 sales only versus the normal 100. So 23 sales were made and then it was stock out. However, that is being considered by competing software as a fully in stock day. Then you have a day where Amazon finds one unit and sells it. Then that's counted as an in stock day, but it should not be because your normal sales velocity is 100. Then you have stock out days, and then you come back in stock. And at the end of the day, as you come back in stock, you sell 13 units that day. And then you go back to your normal 100 units a day. The way that we analyze stock out days, yes, we have our normal stock out days, but we also factor this day when you should have sold 100 and you only sold 23, or you only sold 1, or you only sold 13. We're counting those as also being stock out days. We're not including that in the calculation. And so this is what you get as a result. If you're looking at a 30-day average and you're looking at your in-stock days, the competing software is counting 26 in-stock days, whereas we're counting only 23 in-stock days. And when we do that calculation, the 30-day average for the competing software is a 90 unit daily velocity, whereas we have a 100 unit daily velocity. That is a difference of 10 whole units. So if you are ordering, let's say 4 or 5 months worth of inventory and you're off by 10 units a day, you're going to be short hundreds of units. And so that becomes a major problem. So as you can see, the way you're calculating your stock outs is extremely important. And why people continually run out is that even though they've got all of the data, they're analyzing it incorrectly. So you need to have a system or a tool that analyzes this data properly. And then you will start to be able to get your true daily velocity. We call this daily adjusted velocity because we adjust it for stock outs, and it helps you to create more accurate orders without under ordering. All right, I hope that was extremely helpful to you. Now we're going to be getting into a couple of other quick rapid fire items that hopefully will be helpful to you. Please go ahead and read the blog post that is attached here. It will be going into much more detail on not only these points, but also additional tips and techniques, as well as tools that you can use to be able to streamline your forecast and become more accurate as you do it. So first and foremost, we're going to look at the flip side of stock outs. Daily adjusted velocity is adjusted by stock outs and sales spikes. So you're adjusting it so you don't under order with stock outs and so you don't over order with sales spikes. And when I'm talking about sales spikes, I'm specifically talking about those days where you have an extremely high number of sales. We're talking about, let's say, 50% more sales than you normally have on an average day. Those should potentially be a red flag. However, if those are things that you are commonly doing and they're going to repeat themselves, such as doing a monthly lightning deal, for example, then those sales spikes are just a normal part of your recurring sales patterns, and those should be included within your sales velocity. If they are not going to repeat again, let's say that you were featured on a morning talk show as one of the best new items to purchase for Christmas. That's not necessarily something that is going to repeat itself. So that's something that you would want to remove from your forecasting because it will overbloat the amount that you should be ordering. So sales spikes is another thing that you need to factor in and remove in order to get a true daily adjusted velocity. The next thing that I want to bring up is the concept of buffer stock. Now, when I'm talking about buffer stock, what I'm talking about is additional inventory that you keep either at FBA or at a third-party warehouse. More often than not, you will be doing it at both places. You definitely want an additional amount of stock at your FBA warehouse, but it becomes increasingly important to create a buffer stock in your warehouse as well. Buffer stock is extremely important in being the cushion so that if anything goes wrong across your supply chain, or if you have some sort of a surge let's say, a sales spike that is unpredicted, you will be able to get more inventory into stock because you have that extra cushion. You're not floating too close to zero or too close to a stock out. It helps you to avoid stock outs in times that are unpredictable. I won't go into all the details on how exactly to calculate buffer stock. Please see our blog posts. We do cover this extensively in a lot of our different blog posts, and we have a specific blog post on buffer stock itself. So go ahead and check that out at blog.sostocks.com. And lastly, I want to talk about something that I call inventory-minded marketing. And what this is generally just the concept that your marketing team and your inventory team need to work together. The basis of this is putting your marketing plans into your inventory plans. And what that is going to do is allow you to order enough so that you can cover your marketing. This concept of the marketing team and the inventory team need to start communicating, need to start working together. It still is not a seamlessly running machine, and those two teams tend to be a little bit siloed. So the broad brushstrokes of what we're talking about is the marketing team has to think out their plans within 3 to 6 months in advance. I would recommend 6 months in advance, even 12 months in advance. Of course, they would update it every quarter, but the marketing team needs to plan out what they're doing for every single SKU, give that plan over to the inventory team. The inventory team can then use that plan to be able to place the proper orders so that the marketing team can actually achieve what they've set out to do. It's actually important enough that we have created a free download specifically for inventory-minded marketing to help the marketing team to systemize this process to pass it over to the inventory team. And you can find that in one of the links below. All right, that is all I have for today. I hope it was helpful to you. Again, there's lots of other details on these specific techniques, as well as many other tips and techniques, as well as resources in the blog post below. Go ahead and check that out. And also feel free to check out the rest of our blog, where we have a lot of different in-depth deep dives into inventory management, forecasting, supply chain in general, and are putting out information to help you to streamline the operation of your business so you can better focus on the marketing and revenue driving activities that you do so well.